Sushi size. Yeah, okay.
All right, good evening and welcome everybody to the Village of Webberville regular meeting. Today is April 8th. We'll start with a call to order and a roll call.
McKeever?
Yes.
Schoenberg? Here. Stanfield? Here. Walter? Here. Schulte?
Here. We've got a quorum. Everybody please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, for the approval of tonight's agenda, I would like to add one late addition. Item number 6 is to discuss a mutual aid agreement between the village and the school. So, with that, I recommend that we approve the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. At this point, at 6:01, we will open up for public comment. So at this point, anybody with any comments, welcome to speak.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On the 26th of March, it was observed by myself that 3 DPW employees in 3 vehicles, a dump truck, a backhoe, and a pickup truck, were observed on school property doing a project for the school district. And my question is, how can we justify taxpayers' dollars to authorize work to a school district that does not contribute taxes to the village? They collect taxes through property taxes and non-homestead taxes. How can we justify? I don't know if the council was aware of this, if there was approval by the council. I don't know, but I just want to make you aware, and I would like to understand how taxpayer dollars could go to doing a project for the school district and what you would charge 3 DPW employees their hours and use of vehicles. Was it charged to major streets, local streets, water, sewer? I don't understand how this was justified, and I don't know if the council was aware of this, but I would like to get some feedback as to how this was justified and why this was accomplished and done. Me as a taxpayer. So I guess I open this up, Mr. President, if you have any response.
Yeah, so that's something that I was approached by the school on short notice that they were in a bit of a pinch. It's something that I authorized.
If I could get you to speak up a little bit, I apologize.
It's something that I authorized after talking to our DPW supervisor, Ryan, to make sure that they had the schedule and availability to accommodate that request. Now, as you heard in our approval of the agenda, we will be discussing a mutual aid agreement this evening between the school to continue such activities. Now, in terms of the justification of it, you know, the school had kind of had their back up against the wall with timing to complete a project. They didn't foresee needing to have larger equipment, and essentially, I believe the total billables between labor and equipment rental was about $1,500 versus the school saved about $5,000 by us having the ability to step in and help. So it's less money that taxpayers have to theoretically pay to the school.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So this work was performed. I mean, could we get a mutual aid agreement between the village residents that maybe have our driveways plowed, maybe some landscaping done, I mean, a mutual agreement? How do you justify? They have their own budget. They have their own sinking fund. They have their own budget that they can get the, was this an agreement between a school board member and you, or was it a decision on the school board Or was it just a good old boy handshake, a wink and a nod, say, hey, we'll take care of it? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll encourage our attorney to speak up on the matter, but I had a conversation with him with this regard, and as far as state law is concerned, we are allowed to partner with other government agencies, if I'm saying that correctly. However, we are strictly forbidden from providing aid for profit or aid in general to private entities. So the school being publicly funded and a government organization, we are permitted to do that.
Publicly funded,
Yes.
taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
Okay, so authorizing them to go onto public property during work days, being paid by the taxpayers for their hours, and also billing the vehicles to whatever code. I don't understand what you billed it to. How did you justify and how did you bill this to our budget?
I don't have the exact breakdown in front of me this evening.
Maybe our clerk could answer.
I don't know if you recall offhand, I know the backhoe was charged to the motor pool. I can't.
And
speak
the
for
hours
labor.
were charged to local?
Yeah, I'd be happy to get you a more specific answer
Well, I
on
may
that at
talk
a later
about
time.
this. I asked you to have this information because I was questioning you the day after this was observed by me on school property. So as a taxpayer, I think we have a right to find out how this can be justified. And we paid for them to go onto school property and do a job that they have their own budget, they have their sinking fund, they have their non-homestead money that they get. Why do we as a village have to pay for our people to go on their property and perform work? I don't understand how, and I would really like to understand.
I
That
believe,
opens up a door to an awful, to a problem, I see.
I believe that I already answered your question.
You're saying today you answered the question.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know what code you charged it to, and obviously your clerk doesn't have that answer right
and
now.
like I said, I'd be happy to get you that information at a later date. I cannot produce it in front of me as we speak.
But with approval of the agenda and the bill paying today, this is going to go ahead and be paid by the taxpayers, by you approving whatever was approved by you. Was the council aware of this decision on your part?
It's not a separate billable that would show up like a regular purchased order or.
Was the council aware of this decision that you made, I'm assuming with a member of the school board? I mean, was the school board approved this in advance?
No.
Or, so this was an agreement with you and probably another school board member to take care of this problem?
We have a great working relationship with the school, and when the school
I
reached out for
understand
help,
that.
I was happy to do
But you
that.
have a great working responsibility to the village and the taxpayers to where you spend this money that we pay for. They have their own accounts, they have their own budget.
I hear your comments on it. It's taken into consideration.
So you're gonna go ahead, council, I would like you to understand, you're going to be agreeing or disagreeing to a proposal that is being brought to you tonight to agree to a agreement between the school district that we can go and we can do anything we want, a mutual agreement with the school board to take care of problems on their property that we already pay taxes and take care of their problems. And now they're coming to the village to take care of problems also. I would like the council to really think about what it is that you're approving tonight.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Anything else for public comment? Yes, sir.
Getting back on the same thing, who from the school board contacted you about this?
Superintendent. Superintendent.
Okay. Did they pay us to do that?
We, like
Or
I said,
did we pay them to do that?
we are working on a mutual aid agreement.
I'm not talking about in the future. I'm talking about in the past, when this work was actually done.
No,
So we just did it for nothing.
we were able to save the school a substantial amount of money by doing that.
That's not up to us to save everybody money. The school gets tax money.
So,
And as they say, there was a
so
whole
if we
budget
can't find a
for
way to
that.
be neighborly and help the school, then have fun when they have another village. That is ultimately what happened.
Next winter, can you be neighborly and, shovel my sidewalk?
Again,
Great, I'll enter into an agreement.
I already answered that question. We cannot do that for private entities. So, any other public comment?
Well, I guess stepped into a quagmire here. I haven't been here in 17 years. My name is Jonathan, I'm a resident of Webberville. I live on Carnegie, and I don't know any of the council members, and you'll have to forgive me. You've got nice quarters here, this looks good. I don't see very well. I can see people, but I can't see faces, so could you raise your hand if you're a council member? Just so I know who you are. Okay, good. I came here tonight actually to make a comment about our DPW. They're fantastic. We have the best DPW in the area. These guys are out on Christmas Eve, New Year's, 20 below, 90 above, and I just wanted to take my hat off and tell you that they do a good job. But as I say that, is there something wrong with our chipper?
The truck that pulls the chipper is down for repairs right now,
Oh, okay.
so to keep brush pickup moving, we're doing
I
it
saw
by
you guys
hand.
do it by trailer, and what I was
Yep.
gonna say is, they worked their behind off today, so Sam, you gotta take the DPW off for some beer after they did an awesome job.
I will give, while you're on that real quick, I'm gonna touch on it, but thank you for recognizing that.
Well, no, thanks for
And
the
I will
job you and your.
relay the message to my guys.
We're very,
So-
we're very honored to have you guys do the job you do above and beyond.
Well, thank you.
So, and the other thing I've gotten some phone calls lately, and I served 6 years in the village, but I've served 41 years in the council, the DDA, back when I was village president, we formed the DDA, and then, and it was during that same period of time, we went through annexation for the industrial park, and we got all these in here. So it was a very good 41 years. I spent 6 years as a village president, a number of years in the council, a number of years in the DDA, and as a president of the DDA. And the only reason I say that is, if I get my notes here, because I don't see very well, I just wanted to say that people were saying, I don't, and I've stayed out of it because it's your turn. They've seen some hesitancy of the council, I have you. And I just thought I'd mention to you, you can take it for what it's worth, maybe nothing. We used to have, and it's nothing I instituted, but when I became village president, it was already in operation, and I extended it on to, I don't know, were you very, after me, or were you? After you. Oh, sucker. That 48 hours before every council meeting, every council person would get a packet, and that packet would have the agenda on it. On that, in that packet would also be the bills to be paid, so that you could have time, and you weren't surprised when you got here to answer questions. If there's something of importance on the agenda, we like to think there's something important on every agenda. It gave you time to form your questions and do your thinking. And Sam, maybe you do that now, I don't know. But I think it's very important that you get your agenda ahead of time so that you can know the questions you have to ask, or that you can ask, and you can discuss it with your fellow members or whoever you want to discuss it with. And the other thing I wanted to see, the other thing we heard, maybe it's true, that we need a community center. I'm not so sure we do, because it's going to be vacant for 200 or 300 days a year. What we need to do is build a community that needs a community center, and we aren't there yet. And then I heard the biggest complaints I've heard, and I'm just telling you, take it with worth, is against the DDA, and we'll get to that in just a second, then I'll sit down and shut up. But you don't, Fowlerville, Williamston, Webberville, you don't take a prime piece of property on Grand River and make a community center there, if you decide to make a community center. Do we need one? You have south and you have north. There's a building right next to the school there that's vacant, it's already got a parking lot in it. And it was saving a lot of money, that way you don't take away from retail space. What we need to do is have people go out and sell people on coming into the village of Webberville. We worked very hard to get all to here. We took them to the school meetings, we took them to the restaurant for dinner, we took them, through the schools and what have you. And it was a very challenging, very exciting thing to do. And Sue Payne, who is now deceased, was in the county, and we had some, state, representatives, and we worked very hard to get them to come here, and we all know how good a company we have here with Aldi's here. They're fantastic, and they pay a lot of money, and they donate a lot to the village. I'm gonna shut up here pretty soon, I think. On the DDA, we used to have a gentleman's agreement on DDA, it was not, but you give some thought to this. The president of the DDA would rotate every year. You would have a president for 1 year, then, so that way, everybody in the DDA got involved in it and became, maybe they had a project they wanted to think about. But it's very, but I just heard, and I just heard this today, that, and I don't know, anybody on the DDA, like I don't know anybody on the council, except I had a couple of chats with Sam, there's a member of the DDA that is also on the school board. That is unheard of. There is no reason for any person to serve on the school board, on the DDA, or on the school board, or the council. And don't forget, you guys are in control of the DDA. That is unheard of. There is no reason for that to happen. That is somebody who's just trying to build a power base in themselves that has no business doing that. He should be asked by you guys, or I don't know, maybe the public, that he should make his choice. The school board is great, the council is great, but that's just unheard of. That should not happen. We have a lot of good people in this town that can serve, and I thank you guys for taking time to serve your community, because you are serving your community, and you're serving in the hopes that you can contribute to the right decision to move our community forward. And Webberville is a nice town. Do we have our problems? Yep, always will. A couple of good things we've done is we had the Ingham County Sheriff's Department take over the patrolling of our village. I can't even get it back into what we had going back in the village 2 years back. That was a good move. And Sam, I think I heard you say that you asked the attorney if it was legal for you to do that. Anytime you've got to ask an attorney if it's legal, you know it's a questionable decision. And I say that with all respect to attorneys. My son owns a large, he's an attorney, so owns a large legal firm. Two of my brothers are attorneys. My daughter-in-law's an attorney, another daughter-in-law's. I got more darn attorneys than we could supply the Supreme Court, I think. Attorneys, the only time, and I asked them at the same time, because somebody else said there was some question about how we can get billed by the attorneys. You don't need an attorney at every meeting, very seldom. We never had attorneys come to all the meetings. Because first of all, if they've got a good practice, they don't have time to come. They're gonna get bored. And there's not that many questions for the attorney to answer. You guys are the powerhouse of the community. Run the community, you're gonna get criticized. You're all grown up, so I think you can take it. I just wanted to voice myself in that direction on the community center. Maybe what the DDA should do is hire a public relations firm, as they should, and they can get help from the state, because we need to get a bank back in town. We need to get, you don't just sit here and say, boy, I hope somebody comes and builds a store here. We've got to get out and sell our community, sell our community, and tell people about our community, because that's not, we didn't get all these by saying, oh, I hope they got into controversy with Williamston. Many people worked hard for it. I was just fortunate to be in the area at the time and worked hard for it, but the rewards are great. Let's build a community. Don't worry about the community center. I hope we get to the point we have a community center. We don't need any more parking lots. And when I heard that the DDA was in the real estate business, that really gets people disgusting, because they shouldn't be. Now, that comes down to engineers. Engineers, don't forget, engineers are good and we need them, but you're their bank. They will always, they just, you guys just did Main Street. Great, thank you very much. It looks great. Little kink in the road down there, and I could figure that one out. And it was kind of funny because if any of you drive going towards Part D, you'll go by the school, there's a real sharp kink. I don't know why they would have that, and I'm sure they got a reason on it. And it was kind of a funny story, and then I'll shut up. My wife called the village and said, what is that mailbox is gonna hit? She got a very nice call back from the engineers, oh, very nice. What they really told her in the meantime was that I'm an engineer. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I have an engineer in my family too, I'll tell you. So they said, well, you know, we appreciate your concern, blah, blah, blah. We'll put some tape on it, and that should take care of it. Within a week, it was taken out. So, and then I didn't, she talked to the homeowner, we were walking by our house one night, and they said, they were concerned about it too, but they wanted $600 to move the mailbox. I said, $600, either if it's winter time or a cup of coffee or a glass of water, I got a postal digger in my garage, I can go back and we can move the postal thing. So I checked to the post office, and they said, what do you want to move, 2 or 3 feet back? We don't care, it makes it easier for our driver. So why, you know, but that's engineering. They can always tell you how to do the project, and you can always write the check for them. So all I'm really saying tonight, and I hope I haven't got anybody upset, is thank you for serving the community. Don't take what you, things as you see as a thing. Dig in and ask the questions, get your packets ahead of time, and you'll do a good job, and we'll be proud of you, and we'll thank you. So on that, I'll shut up and sit down. Thank you. And by the way, nice tips. It's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for public comment this evening? If not, we will close the public comment at 6:21. On to the consent agenda. Has everybody had time to review the prior council meeting minutes, accounts payable, investment report, revenue expenditure report, and the balance sheet? Any questions on those items? Or a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Roll call?
McEwen,
Yes.
Schoenberg,
Yes.
Stanfield,
Yes.
Walter,
No.
Schulte.
Yes. On to our monthly reports. First up is our police report. We have a new deputy this evening, so I don't know if you have a report prepared, but the floor is yours.
I have a report. What I prepared. Hi guys, name's Deputy William Vincent. Been in Allen County about a year and a half now. I was over at Wheatfield Township, so I'll be taking over for Hagerman. Technically, he'll be here for another 3 months. I'll be on the afternoon shift, and Alan's gonna be going to the day shift. This is a report they prepared, so again, I'm kind of regurgitating what they had written down already. I usually don't do that, but again, I wasn't here for this last month of March. I'll start with statistics. We only had 7 incidents, 19 traffic stops. There was 5 citations issued. Extra Webberville time, which is basically any time the out county comes out here, it's not a Webberville unit, is 18.2 hours. No warrant arrests, no fresh arrests, 1 fraud, 3 suspicious situations, 1 incident, indecent exposure. No charges were filed on that one, it's going up to the prosecutor. Then 2 PDAs, which is a private property accident. Significant activity, week 1, there's no significant activity. Community policing, I know Hagerman attended the Red Cedar League 2-day basketball tournament at the high school. Week 2, responded to high profile for retail fraud, a small amount of marijuana was stolen. County units also responded to the Red Door for PRT. If you're not familiar with PRT, it's person requiring treatment. It's any time that we come in, somebody needs to be evaluated at the hospital for mental health. So again, we'll take them into protective custody and bring them to the hospital, whether it's McLaren or Sparrow. Week 3, responded to Nada's mobile for a hazmat incident. I was not working this night, but I actually had picked up some overtime. I kind of overheard this. There was possible poisonous material that was spilled out. I think that they ended up clearing it out. It was a real windy day, so there wasn't any possibility, chance of like exposure to anyone to the town or whatnot. So I don't have a ton of information on that one either. Community policing for that week. Deputy Hagerman was a guest reader at the elementary school for March Reading Month. Week 4, Deputy Allen responded to area of Clark Street and Oak Street for a female having trouble breathing and hanging up while on the phone with 911. He made entry into the residence and the caller was not conscious, not breathing. Deputy Allen began CPR and NISA arrived and found a pulse and transported to McLaren. As far as community policing that week, Deputy Hagerman presented the power of word presentation to the parents of Webberville students. Presentation focused on words and action to avoid school and internet safety. Deputy Hagerman and NISA also assisted the schools with the tornado drill. Good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any questions for our deputy this evening?
I didn't catch your name.
Deputy William Vincent.
What was the last name?
Vincent, V as in Victor.
Thank you
No problem, sir.
for your department.
Maybe we're distantly related, who knows?
All right, DPW report.
For the month of March, spring cleanup has began. Again, I'm asking no bags or plastic be put out to the street. Just pile it up, we'll pick it up. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Please don't rake up any pet waste and put it in the brush piles, because our guys have to reach in there with their hands, and nobody wants to touch that. Misdigs, if you're gonna do any digging in your yard, it doesn't matter if you're putting in a little garden, whatever, call it in, they're free. If you cut your fiber optic line, you will pay for it. Then if you have a yard that has a bunch of flags in it, please don't remove them. The flags are generally labeled, you can call who was ever on that, and they will tell you if you can remove them or not. The contractors are supposed to remove them, but they don't all the time. So just to be safe and sorry, please don't pull the flags out of your yards. Even if you pull them out and think you put them back in the same spot, that is illegal. You cannot do that. We did have a water main break on Oak Street. That was in between South Main and Clark. Really damaged the road because it had been previously dug up years ago, broke again. And doing so, we found 5 valves that they're broke. They turn, but they do not do anything. So after 2 hours of turning valves, trying to control the water, I had to cut my losses and had to do it live. It's not something I enjoy to do, but we were able to accomplish it. Again, the valve turning machine saved our bacon because we have a 3-inch pump that we can run off of that, and that was pumping out 450 gallons a minute, and that is how we kept up with the live water main break. Please call or email any potholes that are out and about. We're doing our best to fill them. We had to take this week off filling holes because we're doing brush, and next week we're moving into leaves. I did pick up leaves this week that came out over the weekend because we are short some equipment right now. So we're having to do everything by hand. We're loading brush onto the trailers, we're breaking leaf piles into the front loader of the backhoe. So we will be picking leaves up again next week as scheduled, so I don't want anybody panicking, thinking that we've already did a leaf pickup. We will pick them up next week as well. We're gonna do everything we can. If it comes out to the street, we're picking it up.
Do you know when the truck is scheduled to be back?
Parts were ordered yesterday.
Okay.
That was for truck 3. That's truck 3 is our oldest dump truck. That is a Hitchcock's. We blew the main hydraulic cylinder that lifts up the dump box on it. So dump truck without a dump box is pretty much useless. Big Red.
Was that the truck that got damaged on the school property?
It was being used at the time when it blew the hydraulic cylinder out.
Got it.
So it went to Hitchcock's, they're ordering parts for it. Truck 7, the truck that we bought a year and a half ago, Big Red, that is over in Lansing at Michigan Cat because the engine, we can't keep any engine oil in it. So Michigan Cat has that. Lagoon discharge actually begins tomorrow. I just kind of put a note in there just as a reminder. I will start getting rid of water tomorrow. Got all our approvals today from Eagle. And then on our water system, our drinking water system, every 3 years, Eagle comes in and they conduct what is called a sanitary survey. All the council members have a copy of our survey. So on the first page, They noted 6 improvements that we've completed over the past year. They were very happy with that, with everything that we've done. Told us to keep up the good work. So then on the next page, we move into what they label as a deficiency. These are things that need to be fixed and fixed immediately. So we had one deficiency that was over at well house 1 and 2. On well number 2, the drain line did not achieve the proper air gap, even though the well motor sits 2 feet in the air. So if water were to back up the drain line 2 feet, we had more problems than a 1/2-inch drain line, but they still wanted it fixed. So $11 in parts. I fixed it, sent a picture over to Eagle on Friday of last week. So that deficiency is no longer active. Then next we go into what's called required actions. These are things that they note. They give us a time frame to at least address them. I don't necessarily have to fix them immediately, but I have to have a viable game plan as to what to do. So 1, 2, and 3 kind of all go together. Those are on the chemical tanks that we have at each well house that store the chlorine and the phosphate that we inject into the drinking water. They're in barrels. They wanted secondary containment. I questioned it. I said, well, if the chemical's safe to inject into our drinking water, if it leaks on the floor a little bit, what's it matter? Because I'm only gonna dilute it with water, because the solution to pollution is dilution. So if I had a chlorine leak, I'm just putting a lot of water on the ground and that's it. But no, they wanted secondary containment, so I had already bought one prior to this visit, the style that I want to use, because we have very limited space. So that's why they weren't too concerned about it. They just wanted a picture sent over to them by June 1st. So number 2 are level gauges that we use to measure how much chemical we inject. I mean, it was here when I hired in, we were just using float gauges, simple, no electronics to break. Oh no, they want electronics. So I did have to purchase one just to make sure they're gonna approve it, a digital scale. So I had that already. And then the ventilation fans in the chemical rooms, I had told them earlier this winter that both of them were inoperable, but I was waiting until it warmed up. So I didn't have a 2-foot by 2-foot hole in my chemical room in the middle of winter while I was trying to install a fan. So they understood it. So I've already turned in our plan with the schedule to Eagle for approval, so they're happy with that. It is stuff that over the next year, you know, I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of money on, but we've already got a game plan in place for that. Then next, we go down into our distribution system. All water supplies, they have to have what's called a general plan on file. It's a general plan of our system. They expire every 5 years. Our last one expired in 2014. I had already started the ball rolling with Spicer Group, that's the company that did our last one. I had already started the ball rolling with them before this inspection came about, because I knew I was going to see the individual responsible for it up north when I was at the Michigan Water Conference. So I called him and said, hey, let's get together and discuss this because I have to do it. But I'm not gonna do it until after April 1st, obviously, because of our budget year. So that's why they didn't really ding us on it. They know that I already had the ball rolling to get this completed by November 1st. Same thing goes with what we call our reliability study. It's just an overview of our distribution system and our wells. Same concept, Spicer Group does the same exact thing. Ours, again, was expired in 2014. So they've already approved the fact that we're gonna do it this summer with Spicer Engineering. And then down to security, our emergency response plan, they kind of chuckled when they came into our office and did our administrative inspection. I had already had it updated, it was sitting on my computer desktop. I just had not submitted it yet because nobody was quite sure where to submit it. So we got that figured out, so that has been submitted as well, so they see that. The emergency response plan is just a list of current phone numbers. If things go haywire, who do they contact at the DPW? Who do they contact through the village? Emergency companies, who does our water testing, stuff like that, who can bring us in bulk water. We do have a contract with Culligan. Aquahol can also bring in safe drinking water if need be. So they just have to know all that. Then we move into recommendations. Recommendations are things that if they come back in 3 years for our next survey and I cannot show any progress on the recommendations, they're gonna escalate it. So these are things that we're just gonna work on over the next 3 years. Color coding the pipes inside the well houses. It's kind of goofy, we have water coming out of the ground and water going back into the ground, but they want it painted different colors or stickers. We already calibrate the chemical pumps, I'm not sure why they put that in there. I called him on it and he kind of laughed, he's like, yeah, that's true, you do, so that's just a recommendation again. Monitoring and reporting, this was another one I showed him, because every month when I do water samples, I have to put the address where the water sample comes from. So every month I come here to village offices and to the water tower, and I pull samples out, and those go to Howell, that's checking for bacteria in our water. So I showed him that I already have the addresses on there, I'm not sure why that was there, they overlooked it. And then they aren't really happy that the well houses and the water tower are not fenced in, they're just kind of standalone buildings. So, you know, like I said, it's nothing that I have to do next week, but I have to submit a plan. I'm gonna, you know, tell them what my thoughts are on it. We got some more signage. I showed them the signs that we had, and those are gonna be sufficient. I was waiting to put another coat of paint on the well houses and then hang the signs up.
Now,
So
do they have to be fenced in?
they want them fenced in. When Eagle gives you a recommendation, it's wink, wink, you better do it.
But why did that change from the last 10 years? They didn't have to be
It
fenced in.
hasn't, it's always been there. I don't know, I cannot speak for the prior inspections, but it's always been like that. Actually, when I came here and when I hired in and seen that we were not fenced in, I did ask. And, you know, so that's where we're at now.
We've recently had a change in inspectors in the past,
Yep.
12 months, so
So,
inspectors are different.
yep, so I can only control what I can control. Overall though, they were very happy and very pleased with the operation of our water system, in the administrative side, then also out in the field. Like I said, on the very first page, we recognize all of the improvements that we've made over the last year. So, just kinda want everybody to know that we have these inspections every 3 years. We have no violations, we have no fees or fines that we have to pay, and our deadlines are all being met, so everything was looking good there. But if anybody has questions, feel free to call me at any time, and I'll do what I can to answer them. So other than that, that's about all I have for the March DPW report.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions on those items from the council?
Real quick, just dawned on me. With last week's heavy rains, anybody who had a pothole put in their front yard to inspect their water line, a lot of the sand is settling now, just as kind of we had planned. We are going to start lawn restorations in May, so if you had a little circle of sand in your front yard because we came and dug up your house and it has settled, please call me. We will get sand in it immediately. I think Mr. McCarthy can attest to that. He called, we had sand there. I actually had a call Friday evening, homeowner was concerned. So if you have a little sinkhole in your yard, please call. We'll get it filled in with sand, and then we're gonna bring topsoil and grass seed in for everybody in May. I was just waiting for the weather to improve a little bit. So, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yes, sir.
Couple of questions for Ryan. Has the issue with Eagle been resolved about the fines for the lagoons yet? What's going on
No.
with that?
Mr. Gould, myself, Sam and Lana, we are going to we are going to Lansing at the end of this month. We have to meet with a whole room full of people. We are just gonna, administrative consent order? We're just gonna review some documents. That's the next step in getting the ball
So
rolling.
that meeting just pertains to,
Just to the
That was
wastewater.
last
Yeah.
year.
So we are doing everything we can to get this ball rolling. I know Scott and Sam and I have been in recent contact with Eagle. We're trying to get it moving, because we don't want this lingering over our heads. So we are going to Lansing at the end of this month in meeting with a whole room full of people on it, so.
and my other question is the DPW going to do some road paving where they have dug up?
We are, actually Sam and I.
Not just fill it with coal patch?
Nope. Sam and I just had this conversation. We didn't do it last year just because of budget, constraints, but we have a list compiled of road patches where we have dug up either for water main breaks.
Right, because
Yep,
that one, the
yep,
other
by
side
your
of
house.
Howard Street's
Yours is first on the
getting
list.
pretty deep.
Yep, so the blacktop plants, I don't know if they're quite open yet at full capacity.
Yeah, I don't think they're.
Yeah, but once they get open, I do have a list of, contractors that I'm gonna bring in, get us some quotes. Cause we do have some road patches that need to be done.
Right,
So
okay.
yes, we are, Sam and I, like I said, we just talked about that, what, Monday?
Yep, we do
Yeah.
it every Monday.
Yep, so,
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Jessica, the clerk treasurer report.
McKenna's starting the master plan process soon and helping us get in line with the essential level for the RRC. We continue to have people interested in renting the hall, it's going pretty well. Received the site plan for the Aldi's expansion. Working on getting our bills in like one account, making paperless. And actually the DTE bills, we have 12 of them. With us not being paperless, it's $3.35 a bill. So now that we're going paperless, it'll save us some money, not a lot, but some. And in between things I'm doing, we also have a writing policies and procedures for the village office. The ones we have are out of date and we never had some of them, so that's a work in progress also.
What do you mean policies and procedures?
Like, we have to have a social security policy. We just wrote that one a couple years ago. Like, they were finding out, like, in the recent one, you have to have one for meetings, you have to have one for, taking bills. Sort of like, it can be like a little Bible, so if somebody comes downstairs and they wanna know how to do something, they can just flip to that page.
Like a manual?
Pretty much, yeah.
Any questions for Jessica on her report? Thank you, Jessica.
Got a question here.
Oh, yes, sir.
Mr. President, I see on here I did not know the gentleman's name that serves on the DDA and the school board. I don't know who he is, he might be a nice guy, I don't know anything about it.
Yep.
But I would hope you will give some consideration to having him resign from one of the boards there. There's no right for him to serve on two boards, the school board and the DDA. We've already seen what kind of controversy that caused with this fiasco about our DPW working on their property. We're not here to save them money, and they're not gonna contribute to our budget in the village. The school's a very good district, it's a good school, but they have their own budget, we should not interact like that. So what I'm asking is, if the council people will give some consideration to, before they approve this gentleman, whoever he is, that they ask him to make his choice, DDA or school board.
Yep,
No
so
way should he be served on board.
his name is Josh
Just
Rocky,
throw that
and
out
he's
there.
right there.
Where?
Right here.
Where? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see people.
Yeah, you're
I apologize.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I can't see people, I apologize.
Yeah. I mean, I can address that if you want to right now. I already checked because the DDA has no direct financial,
I'm not talking about financial, I'm not talking about asking an attorney, get an opinion. I'm talking about the morality of the fact that we have separate boards, We have the council, we have the DDA, we have the school board, and there is no reason to interact on different boards. You should dedicate yourself, and I'm sure you're a nice guy, you should dedicate yourself to either the school board or the DDA, but there is no reason for anybody to serve it. We have a lot of very capable people in our village to serve on these boards, and at that point, maybe we have to restart it. There's no reason for it, that's all.
I would just ask that at this point, we've left public comment and we've kind of gone off track from our reports.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We do have a discussion about reappointing Josh to the DDA later in the agenda though.
What?
We have an agenda item later in the meeting for discussion on DDA.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I saw the next thing, the DDA reports, that's why.
Yep, I just wanna, our DDA chairman will provide a report on last month, but I just wanna stay on topic here.
All right. Sorry, I thought we were.
That's okay. So Josh, do you have anything to report on DDA progress?
As you can see, the windows are starting to get put into the Ford building. We just approved to re-engage with the architect to get sealed plans to move forward with the Ford building. A little bit of information just to give people that might be new. When it comes to the Ford building, I mean, one of the DDA's direction from legislation is to create revitalization and redevelopment in downtown area. Obviously with Webberville, we also include the business park. Buying the Ford building, that was exactly what that was. And I'm very thankful we did, because the building, when we purchased it, had failed roof repair after failed roof repair. And when we had the structural engineer go in there to fix the structure and do that, that building was 3 to 4 years away from collapse. So we were able to save a downtown building, because I can tell you from my experiences, no one's gonna put a $3.5 to $4 million downtown building back. So if that building, if we wouldn't have been able to get in there and at least fix the problems it had, that building would have probably been bulldozed within 5 years, because no one was gonna be able to pay for that. And that's, again, what the DDA is designed to do, is to save these buildings and try to get them to be useful, back to the public. I have spent countless hours before we decided to do the event center out of that building, contacting and working with Michigan Restaurant Association, Michigan Brewery Association, with LEAP, who we contract with for economic development. They market Webberville, they bring us people, and because of the demographics in Webberville, no one wanted to touch it. Not a single soul wanted to come in here. They just said, you don't have a big enough population for us to even spend money. So that's why we pivoted to that, which is the idea where the event center can bring the back area, once it gets completed, can host 160 people in the back comfortably. So doing events there, we have the possibility of bringing in over 100 people on, say, a Friday or Saturday night that are going to get exposure to Webberville that might not normally be here. So that was kind of the idea with that. Other than that, we are, again, working on it. I don't know if I'll just do it here for my appointment, but as DDA report, I spent the better part of my adult life, and even before then, I care about this community. I've done everything I can for this community. I chose to put my IT business here, mainly because I believed in the town I grew up in. And I could have picked anywhere else, and trust me, with demographics, probably would have been a lot better. But again, I believed in this town, and I rehabbed a building downtown that had been used as storage for like 30 years. So, as someone that doesn't like to, I don't like taking credit for anything. I try to stay away from, like, Steve Horton, every time he comes in town and we're doing something that I'm involved in, I try to duck away from him, and not be involved in news and views. So I think a lot of people don't realize that all the stuff I do, and I'm just gonna give you a brief synopsis of who I am and what I've done. I've served on the DDA since February 2012. I was appointed as chairman just months after I joined the DDA. When I first joined the DDA, it was about $400,000 in the red. Meetings were strictly to see how we could push off paying bills. At this time, there was no real communication between the village, school, township, and lots of tension with all the entities in the public. Knowing we didn't have a lot of money, I went to work to negotiate any contracts, reduce spending, and serve expenditures. With help of my fellow DDA members, we were able to get the DDA outside the red and continue to build our account. At that time, my focus was to bring impact to the community without spending a lot of money. We created the Strategic Planning Commission to plan events around the community and help create and host a bunch of events that were impactful to the community without spending money. A lot of these events I personally covered the cost on. Some of my accomplishments, sorry, I'm fighting my allergies right now. Financially turning the DDA around from negative $400,000 to over $1 million in surplus right now. Corrected the past issues with the second phase of the business park. When the DDA bought the land that they did out there before my time, they sold off their only access to about 70 acres. So we were able to landlock that property, and we could never afford to get the road out there. So we were able to broker a deal to sell 12 acres that was actually right there off Tech Drive in order to pay for the extension out to that area that's right along 96. Very nice 96 frontage. I helped sell 2.65 acre lot in the industrial park to the developer. It's known as a spear-shaped property. That was deemed unusable because the stockpile of dirt on the property left from the drain commission when they first did the drain project in the 90s. Someone told them they could stockpile all of the spoilage on that property, and it was going to cost taxpayers $96,000 to remove that spoilage. We actually sold that property for a profit. Wasn't much, but we sold it. Wrote a grant for the MEDC site readiness grant of $100,000 that we were awarded for the Tech Drive extension. I've attracted multiple businesses inside and outside of the business park, bringing substantial tax revenue to the community. Arranged the acquisition and purchase of the eyesore parking lot next to the post office. Wrote a grant and was awarded a $1 million Eagle grant for cleanup of that site and the removal of the contaminated tanks that were still a hazard, and worked with Tri-Terra and Eagle to have that site cleaned and mitigated the brownfield contamination. Helped create the Strategic Planning Commission and the Community Picnic, which has been started back up, and last year I personally sponsored the car show trophies and paid for the food licenses. Lana, Deborah, and Jessica do a fantastic job now with the Community Picnic, and glad to continue to support it any way I can. I created the Jeep Takeover for downtown, bringing in 100+ Jeeps into our community and 300+ spectators every year. We redid the downtown banners and Christmas decorations and the Welcome to Webberville sign. Worked to acquire easement for the East Welcome to Webberville sign location to be expanded for a bigger sign. Worked with the Garden Club to take care of the downtown and the gazebo. Recognized Ann Evans for her work on the gazebo and created the Ann Evans garden around the gazebo. Helped the Garden Club and the village for the Blue Star Memorial. Did the Mr. Wheeler statue that's currently downtown. Helped work with Sam and the creator to do that in Mr. Wheeler's honor. Promoted and created the Farmers Field Day with the help of the Benjamins, DDA, and the community when at the time the firemen field days weren't happening. I knew we needed an event to fill that space. Helped create the Webberville Light Parade and Christmas lighting. Continue to support Josh Pugh as he took over this event. Continues it on. Purchased the Ford building at a fair price. Fixed the roof and structure of the building, saving this historical building, which would have been a loss within a few years because of the roof structure failures that are now fixed. Continue to work to develop this property to turn it into a Ford event center that will bring tons of people weekly into our community. Brokered to purchase the Briggs building to try to save this building with hopes to work with the school and the ISD on possibly turning it into a special education or daycare. Worked with the village to help pay for the Main Street project. Worked out a deal with the village to provide a loan for the industrial park drive and replacement and repair. Helped in providing suggestions and how to alleviate the truck issue out on M52 with Aldi and everyone that was involved with that. I spend anywhere between 8 and 10 hours a week on average working for the community and especially for the DDA. I've done that over the last 12 years almost, just because again, I firmly believe in this community. I want to see it grow. I want to see great things out of this community, and I really hope to continue that process.
Thank you, Josh. Is there anything else in your report for the WDDA?
No.
Okay.
No. It's, we are waiting on, for the Briggs building, we're waiting on the Ingham School District to come out and tour it and see if it is something that they are willing to take on and if it's something in their scope. But, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Mr. President,
What do
can I
you mean
just-
by take on?
Huh?
What do you mean by take on?
The ISD is, I guess they have some funds to do a standalone special education building. And so they're interested in the possibility of doing that there.
So would they be purchasing that building then?
Either purchasing or it would be, we would lease it. I don't know what the particulars, I don't know what their structure is until they give us a, we are interested or we're not interested in it.
And if they're not interested in it?
Then we're gonna turn it back and we'll end up doing it in retail. It'll be a retail space.
What building is this?
It's a building right next to the elementary school.
Oh, the gray,
Pretty
long gray one?
Yeah.
I do have a question, sir, if I might. Question about the special events building.
Yeah.
Once this is all set, everything is all settled, who's gonna take ownership of the building?
It'll be, for the time being, it'll be ran probably in coalition with the village and DDA for the time being.
So insurance, personnel?
Yeah, we'll all be, yeah.
That will be DDA or village?
That'll be DDA, yeah.
So insurance and personnel and operation will be a DDA effort?
Yeah, we would probably have to subcontract like cleaning and stuff like that, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our WDDA chairman? Thank you, Josh. Next up is the building zoning report. McKenna Associates is not here this evening. They did provide a report, so I encourage the council to read. Next up is the NISA report. Sandra.
So we have been very busy, already this year. Just 2 weeks ago on Sunday, we had probably 17 calls between 6:30 and 12 p.m. As to, just some information, in both the stations, we now have, fiber that is working, which is very good. The training that we did at the 62 station is now finished. The class will be having their graduation on the 26th in Williamston at the high school. One of the lieutenants was sent to Baltimore for some staff and command training, and it was very informative for him. He enjoyed these classes and he felt he learned a lot. And then just wanted to say that there's going to be a banquet on the 29th, I do believe, in Williamston for awards and a ceremony. So we also had a brush fire training session last week on Van Orden Road. I know I saw some people mention that just because the trucks were parked on the road doesn't mean that we weren't exactly on top of it, because we had personnel all over the field staged. And we did have 3 vehicles as well, so it went very well. And it was pretty interesting to see the fire burn when it got dark. So it was very safely done. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Sandra? Thank you. Next up is our attorney report.
The only real news that I have for this evening is the pending matter of White Rose, which is currently docketed at the Michigan State Court of Appeals. The latest with that is White Rose has submitted a docket statement. Effectively, they give a brief explanation of what they're trying to appeal. This is the first time that I've got to see exactly what they're trying to appeal. It's not the actual brief or the legal argument. I think this is just it's almost like a sorting tool for the Court of Appeals to figure out where they want to put this thing. And at least to this docket statement, White Rose is saying that they're appealing the award of attorney fees from the circuit court, which was the appeal court. So my reason for telling you that is, one, to keep you updated, but two, to let you know that it looks like, at least at this point, White Rose is trying to narrow their appeal down to the attorney fees. So it looks like at this moment, though it could change, they're not challenging the final ruling of the circuit court as to the violations that occurred. And the reason I'm telling you that is because there's going to be a point in which this council, again, is going to have to consider the conditional zoning agreement. It sounds like they're not challenging that there was, in fact, a violation. So I'll update you as soon as I get more information. Typically, these appeals are slow in nature anyway, but I will say that I spoke with Attorney Baldori. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. I think he is the new subsequent attorney for White Rose. And he's expressed to me that White Rose still has an interest in trying to settle this matter prior to the Court of Appeals actually reviewing this matter. I intend to give them a call back because I know that the White Rose is still looking to move forward, to continue a relationship, even though we still have this pending matter. So I got to call Mr. Baldori back, and I can get a firm offer from them as to how they think they can settle this matter, and I'll relay it to you guys as soon as I get it. But that's all of the real news I have. I know the next couple items we got on the agenda I'll probably address as we get there, but that's about it for anything new.
I assume when you refer to attorney's fees, that's also including the time for McKenna on this matter that they're challenging?
Yes, it's inclusive of everything.
Okay.
Yeah. And the clock is still on. I mean, the fact that we're into the Michigan Court of Appeals, the clock's still on, and that's the one thing, because ultimately the circuit court moved this matter from the circuit court of Ingham back to the district court for the district court judge to make a final ruling as to the total amount. And because now that the matter's getting pushed back up to the state court of appeals, if the Court of Appeals rules in our favor again, or decides not to even address this matter, the time spent trying to work this appeal will also be included in the final number as given to the district court judge to rule on the final number. So, you know, they have some skin in the game. The more they keep this fight up right now, it looks like they're gonna be paying the attorney fees on it, so, and the mechanic, so.
Thank you. Any questions for Scott? Next up is the engineer report. Bruce.
Thank you. All I have to report tonight is that I've received the Aldi site plan from Ms. Cooch, and I'll be doing a site plan review on that.
Awesome. And for the council's knowledge, speaking with Bruce regarding the South Main Street paving and water project that we budgeted for this year, unfortunately with timing, I don't know that this is going to be, it's not going to fit on a good schedule for a 25 project. Essentially, I think in order to get this thing bid out in time, by the time they break ground, school would be back in session, and it would leave very little room for error by the time asphalt plants would close. So I believe at this point, we are gonna keep that in the budget, but look for this to be a very early 26 project. So we'll go out to bid presumably sometime in the fall.
Yeah.
Just so the council's aware of the schedule on that.
I think we'll get better pricing on it with that schedule too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, last minute bids are usually more expensive.
Yeah.
Is that the North Main Street or South Main Street?
South Main Street, so we're looking at from Grand River down to the next intersection here.
So you're not gonna finish North Main Street?
It's on the docket to get done at some point. Right now, that temporary cap is holding. It's in good condition, and frankly, we have other roads that are in much more dire need. Any questions for Bruce? Okay. Last, is any advocate reports? So, seeing none. So we will move on to new business. First up is the Grace Point Church sign.
I got a few signs I'd like to pass around. I only brought one piece, so you guys could just pass me through. But we were looking to put signs up like before and after the creek line down here, you know, the drainage ditch. Only we want to put them by the guardrails. And it's just a sign pointing towards our church on Elm Road. And then I have one more sign I wanted to put on the Webberville sign, city sign down here, as far as, you know, the name of the church and the address. And I talked with Chris, and he was the planner, whatever, and he was saying you guys own between the sidewalk and the road, right there, so I have to come before you guys to see if I can put these signs up.
These look like permanent signs, not
Yes.
temporary seasonal?
Yes.
Where did the signs come from? Because we do have to follow the Michigan Uniform
I
Traffic.
am having them made by Eugene Smith,
Okay,
and he's, you know,
yep,
I'm buying the post, the sign, the whole 9 yards.
yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
And it would benefit our church a little bit, because it's kind of, we're unknown. We know, you know, down Elm Road, we got that big hill there, it's even hard to see the church as you just exiting the city limits there. So, we were hoping to, that way people could locate the church a little bit better.
Okay. Sorry?
This is a very common thing in all communities,
Okay.
you know? I mean, I have no vote in it, but following Uniform Traffic Control Device, you know, he did put what the signs are gonna be made of. You know, those are acceptable signs, the size-wise, that's very common. The channel post, you know, is gonna be common. Drive to any community, you'll always see advertisements for the churches. But what he is proposing here, on my side of things, I see no problem with it, just, you know, so you guys know where you wanna move forward with. What they would.
Okay.
And that's coming in, you know, going west would be on the north side, and coming south would be on the east side, so it would be on either side. That way people know just before Elm Road, you know.
If it is approved, we would obviously work together on sign placement, just so I know that it's not interfering with any of my utilities. So,
Yes.
but yeah, if it is approved, you know, we would be able to have guidance on that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so my opinion on this is I'm hearing of it, and I would really wanna consult with our city planner to make sure that what's being proposed fits in with ordinances and, just the community in general. So I'm not saying no, but I mean, unless somebody wants to motion this, I'm not prepared to make a decision or a motion on this tonight. So,
Understood. Understood. Could we maybe plan for next month?
yeah, we can absolutely put you back on the schedule for next
Back on
month.
schedule for
you know.
next month, so if we can see.
Yeah, and I mean, I apologize for making you come out a second time, but
Well,
I
that's
really
okay,
want
I
to
just
discuss
don't,
this.
I don't wanna get the signs made
Sure.
purchase until we get a final okay on it.
So that makes sense to the rest of the council, that we'll consult Chris Corey at McKenna and get a recommendation from them on it?
I don't see a problem with
Okay.
May,
Sorry?
in May.
Our next meeting, do we wanna, the 23rd? No, 21st.
Yeah. April.
April 21st is our next meeting.
Monday
Yeah, which is a Monday.
So it'd be April 21st then?
Yeah, I'll work with Chris, I'll try to get in contact with him tomorrow, and hopefully we can work through this.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That's fine.
So next up is the 24, 25, and 52 mobile truck wash site plan extension. I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Sam Beidoun. I'm here to formally request that the site plan approval deadline be extended. Sorry. The main reason for the extension is that the Drainage Commission is going to extend the pipe out to our property, that way we can connect to it. They're planning to finish the extension by April 26th, but they think it's gonna be done much sooner. We can't go ahead and finish the drawings until they finish that first. And then we show them that we connect to the new pipe that's gonna be extended out to our property, and then we can go ahead and resubmit it, so that way it gets reviewed again.
This is the Drain Commission that you're referring to, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not changing any of their original plans already. And I'll be the first to say that their engineering company has been very easy to work with. They've been very open and honest and forthcoming and keeping us in the loop on everything. So, again, I don't see an issue with extending their site plan.
How long is the extension for?
I think the original deadline was May 31st.
I think it was the end of May, if I remember correctly. But then the Drain Commission came in, nobody was expecting this from the Drain Commission. So it kind of threw a wrench in the original timeline.
Right.
Like I said, it doesn't change their construction plans, it doesn't change the layout of anything. This will actually improve the stormwater drainage.
Right.
So I see no reason why.
Yeah, I don't know how much we need to extend it by in order to give you enough time to do your end of it.
Yeah, I would request at least 2 months, just to be safe.
90 days.
90 days?
I would do
3
90
months.
days, 3 months.
Okay. Being that this is unforeseen and unplanned for on the Drain Commission's behalf, I would recommend to the council that we approve a site plan approval extension 90 days beyond the original deadline.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
McEwen?
Yes.
Schoenberg?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Schulte?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have the special event permit for the Tootsie Roll Drive. So this is the Knights of Columbus Council doing their annual Tootsie Roll Drive. This is the east and west side of Grand River at the Main Street Grand River intersection. scheduled for April 11th and 12th, starting at 8 a.m. and running till 6 p.m. Pretty straightforward. This organization does it every year. So any questions or comments or a motion on approving the special permit?
I recommend to approve.
Motion.
Motion to approve. Sorry about my voice.
Second.
Second.
All right. Roll call.
McEwen?
Yes.
Schoenberg?
Yes.
Stanfield? Walter?
Yes. Okay. Next on the agenda is to reappoint Josh Rocky to the WDDA chairman position, or is it just the DDA in general?
Just DDA.
Just the DDA. That's right, you guys self-elect a chairman. So this is to reappoint Josh Rocky to the WDDA for another 4 years. I'm not gonna make you repeat yourself,
Thank you.
but I would attest to the tremendous amount of effort that Josh has put into the community. I think the results kind of speak for themselves, and very grateful for the work that he's done there. I would recommend to the council that we reappoint Josh Rocky to the WDDA for 4 years.
But we had two gentlemen that also brought up a very valid reason that there seems to be a conflict of interest with him being head of DDA and also sitting on the school board.
Legally speaking, there's no conflict of interest.
Actually, I found that legislative law in the state of Michigan is MCL 15.183, which allows, actually according to this, speaks to TIFA districts and school boards and allows that, allows you to serve both. As the main gist from this, and it's called incompatible public offices. It's essentially is because they're both unpaid positions. Once it becomes a paid political position, then it becomes, they're sort of becoming a conflict.
It's unpaid and the school is outside of the DDA's
Right.
district, so there's no, financial conflicts there.
And there's 3 provisions when it comes to the Incompatible Offices Act. One position cannot be subordinate to another, all right? And in this case, the school board has no control over the DDA or vice versa. There's no subordination there. One cannot be a supervisory role to the other one. Again, neither board can influence as a superior to the other. And as long as there's not a breach of duty, by acting in one office for the other, there won't be a conflict there. An example would be if there was, hypothetically, I don't foresee this ever happening, but hypothetically, for this discussion, if the DDA were to somehow contract with the school, Mr. Rocky, if he held both positions, would have to resign from one of the positions prior to the vote. You'd be burdened with that. But outside of that, those are the 3 provisions of the Incompatible Offices Act.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure it's legal, no doubt about it, but is it proper? He might be a nice guy, but I just heard a 5-minute talk on I, and the gentleman will probably have to rest his right arm from patting himself in the back. But is it proper to do that, or are there other people in the village that don't have that, and then somebody else's turn? If he's been there since 2012, somebody else's turn. Just like a village president, after 2 or 3 years, or 2 or 3 terms, is somebody else's turn.
And, to that point, we recently filled the last vacancy on the DDA a month ago or 2 months ago, and this is the first time in years that we've had a full board. So in terms of giving somebody else a turn, nobody has stepped up.
Have you asked anybody?
Yeah, we frequently, we spent years trying to fill that empty seat, and nobody from this community.
It's hard to get people to serve, I understand that. It's always been a situation on the council or the DDA. But I hope it's too late now, but I hope in the future you use good judgment. I should have left earlier because I think I'm a nice person. But when I heard the I word 100 times, and I thought for sure his arms got to rest and pat himself in the back. I thought, maybe we've gone too far.
I think you missed the first part of that statement
I heard it all.
of the fact that I don't ever take credit for anything, and even that was hard
You
for
just
me
took
to.
credit for the whole, for 15 minutes, you're to take care about I, and pat yourself in the back. And that's okay, you're probably a nice guy.
No, I
could be
also
in the
put
wrong.
in there though
I
that it was with
apologize,
the
I
help
shouldn't
of
have brought it
the
up.
community.
But I have never heard that terminology used that strongly, and whatever. But I'm done, I apologize, I shouldn't have said it, but give some thought to it in the future.
Your comments are heard.
If I might.
Yes,
make a
sir.
comment. What I understand is there was an addition to the agenda,
Yes,
which nobody was aware of until tonight's meeting,
correct.
okay? Again, that's, that's concerning, but the mutual agreement with the school board. DDA chair, school board member, influence in the school board, influence in the DDA and the council. I mean, I see him sitting at the council table. To me, that is a red flag. And that would be concerning to anybody in this village, that there could be, well, obviously, I'm seeing some influence because the school board obviously approved the council to,
The school board has not approved anything. We are making a proposal
well,
to them.
you said the school board president agreed with you
Separate issue.
to a mutual agreement. Do you see where I'm heading with this?
Yeah,
I see a conflict, and I see influence, and I
and
don't
in
know.
terms of our discussion later on about the mutual aid, Josh and his position have no vote or no say in this.
He has no vote, he's on the school board. The school board has to agree to a mutual agreement with the village. Am I correct? Or are they working outside the school district and the school board making decisions? The president can work with you to make a decision on a mutual agreement. I'm just trying to connect the dots here, and it's confusing.
Yeah, I mean, presumably, Josh, I genuinely don't know if you'd be a voting member on that decision on the school board.
When if you guys decide to do this, it would, I mean, superintendent is who engaged with you over this, situation, so it's like, we won't see it until, obviously, you guys, if you guys approve it, and then you send it to the school board, and the school board will, I'm assuming superintendent will present to the school board would be.
Right.
I mean, I'm only,
Well, there was a
it'd be like
time
my
that we
third.
worked very hard to get rid of the good old boy process in this village. And I see that starting to creep back in. Good old boy, make an agreement and nod and a wink and say, hey, this is done, don't worry about it. We'll
I
settle the
don't
consequences.
believe having a legal agreement is a nod and a wink. I mean, it's in black and white.
Okay.
And we're on live stream and discussing this in the open, so.
Okay, I've got it.
In terms of the matter at hand of the agenda item of reappointing Josh, there is a recommendation out there if somebody does want to so move that, or,
I already said so.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, you're fine.
Somebody want to second that?
I'll second it.
We'll do a roll call.
McEwen?
Yes?
Schoenborn?
Yes.
Stanfield?
Yes.
Walter?
No.
Schulte?
Yes. Okay, next up, we have another reappointment for the WDDA. This is for Jordan Fuller for another 4 years. Jordan's been a valued member for the past few years on the board. She's expressed interest in continuing to serve there. So I would recommend that we reappoint Jordan Fuller to the WDDA for another 4 years.
I motion it.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
McEwen?
Yes?
Schoenborn?
Yes.
Stanfield?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Schulte?
Yes. Okay, on to our last new business item this evening. This is the mutual aid agreement for the school. I apologize for the last minute addition. I was working with Scott to try to get this prepared, given the tight timeline with the seasonality of what's in here. So essentially what this is I was approached by Andy, the school superintendent. They were a little bit surprised this season that the lawn service that they've been contracting with for the past many years is shutting down. So they were forced to go out to bid in the public and receive quite a bit of sticker shock as to what they found. And of course, the school being on a very tight budget, they were panicking a little bit. So in the interest of having a good relationship with the village, Andy asked me if this is something that we would be able to look at, which I don't think is a bad idea. So essentially, this mutual aid agreement, first and foremost, would primarily cover groundskeeping activities at the school, nothing inside of the school building itself. Typical lawn season runs between mid-April to mid-November. So as part of this mutual aid, the school would, I don't want to call it a revenue sharing agreement, but it would cost the school $18,000 per year. Their next lowest bid was about $23,000 a year for mowing, which is substantially more than what they were paying. So by entering this agreement, the village would be able to add $18,000 a year to our budget. It would allow us to purchase a new, larger zero-turn mower, so that we'd be able to more efficiently take on that job, as well as more efficiently take care of the other.
So we have to purchase the lawnmower too?
As part of this agreement, yeah. As Ryan and I discussed, particularly in the spring when the grass is growing quickly, we may need to put two employees, 2 mowers in order to efficiently do that job. We'll get it later.
I'm really confused about this because last year's community picnic that we had at the school, and the school was extremely gracious.
Thank you so much. You didn't have to do that.
It was extremely gracious. Andy was to open the school up because the plan had changed venues for security purposes. The picnic committee was supposed to get $3,000 from the DDA, and we couldn't get it because the school was out of the DDA purview and the village purview according to the map. We were shown the map. Now all of a sudden, we can help the school out. I mean, we're over there, we've got our DPW crews over there working. Now you want to go into a contract with lawn service with them?
To help save the school money.
Save the school money. But what about the village?
So the idea with this is that obviously DPW.
I was under the assumption the village had nothing to do with the school.
We're both taxpayer-funded organizations with tight budgets, and working together, we can usually find ways to save money like this.
And if I may, to that point real quick, through state law, municipalities and school districts are considered municipalities too, as far as the statute goes. You don't have to, you're not burdened to contract with contiguous districts. So in other words, you can have intergovernmental agreements with other municipalities that don't touch your borders. You can do that. So if what you're saying is the school district is outside the jurisdiction of the village itself, does that bar the contract? And the answer is no.
It's really no different than.
Well, then why were we given a big fat no last year for the $3,000 allotment for the community picnic? Because we wanted to hold it at the school where it was safe. We didn't want it on Grand River. We didn't want it on Main, excuse me, on Main Street. We want it in a safe area, so the kids and the parents can spread out. Kids were taking off running in all different directions. And that's usually what happens. We had it down here, my gosh, and it was all over the news, cars going through parades and stuff like that. We eliminated that, did we not, Rana? The parents and the kids had a great time.
I can't speak to that, because I wasn't, no one asked me to research that matter, but
I can speak to what you're saying, is I think you're getting confused with what the village is and what the DDA is, because it's the DDA that can contribute to the community picnic, unfortunately, because it's not in the TIFA district. TIFA district is completely different. It's inside, it's basically Grand River goes out to the business park. It does not include the school. The DDA is barred from spending any money outside of that district, that actual downtown core and the business park. So that's why the DDA couldn't contribute. It had nothing to do with the village. It had to do with the DDA was barred from doing anything outside their district.
and those are state laws. I mean, the DDA is state law driven, just like these intergovernmental agreements are state law driven, and this is not something we're just coming up with.
So this is between village and the school, not the DDA and the school, which eliminates the whole, as you were saying, the district.
Yeah.
So what all do they want the village to do for them?
Is it strictly grass cutting, or is it pulling posts with our backhoe, dump truck, other equipment, and
They
our?
already did that.
May I speak, please? The spirit of this agreement and the number that this was generated from is the predicted cost that we will incur for using our equipment. I felt that in these discussions, it would not be fair to charge labor because currently the taxpayers are paying an hourly rate for our DPW. If we were to charge the
So you
school for
want to
that.
buy new equipment?
Excuse me. If we were to charge the school our labor rates, the taxpayers are effectively paying double for that labor. You see what I'm saying? So,
You're taking the guys away from doing our work to do the school work. Why are we intermixing?
right?
This never happened before, this intermixing. I don't know why it's necessary. If they have a budget problem, that's their problem.
Our guys are here for 40 hours a week. If we're not keeping them busy, that's costing the taxpayers money by them being idle.
They're always busy. Our men are, I live right next to it, those guys are busting their every day, winter, heat, whatever. It's not a justification.
They work extraordinarily hard. I
They do.
agree with that.
And constantly.
And I've spoken at length with Ryan, who is the supervisor of that department, and together he and I feel that this is work that we can take on.
Why? Why?
Ryan, how old is our other mower that we have right now?
This is going on its 5th year. It just came out of warranty. I had a bunch of warranty work done to it last summer.
We used to operate the DPW process with a supervisor and 1 DPW personnel. We now have 3 DPW personnel and 1 supervisor, and the village has not expanded. So now what you want to do is contract out to some other entity that does not pay taxes to the village. We pay taxes to the school district. Okay, council, it's up to you.
Still didn't answer my question.
I'm sorry, I don't recall what the question was.
What all does the school board want us to do for them?
So again, the spirit of this contract,
I don't want to hear the spirit. I want to know what they want us to do.
any type of groundskeeping activity, including weed control, pulling fence posts, earthwork, pending approval of the DPW supervisor. So if the school needs help and requests it, as long as we have the manpower and ability, that's what this would cover.
That includes snow removal in the winter then, doesn't it? That's part of groundskeeping.
This contract is only for the spring, summer, and fall seasons, not snow removal.
I just don't think it's a good idea. There's a lot of work in this village that the DPW can be doing,
Thank you.
instead of going out and doing stuff outside.
I just don't know why, after all these years, we have to intermix so rapidly. I think, that's where I think the division of one person can't serve on two boards.
Well, I appreciate the comments. The last few things that I'll say about this proposal, you know, this would enable us to have 2 mowers. Again, it's more efficient. Part of the school's request is to be able to spot mow for times that they have events coming up, so they can kind of tidy up. So we would store our Xmark, the smaller mower at the school, available for them to use as needed. Obviously, they would need to keep track of that time, and this would not include any striping or painting of the athletics fields. So that is the gist of this proposal. Should the council decide to agree with this evening, this would be put forth to the school board to decide as to whether or not they want to accept this. Yes, sir.
So, one more time, correct me if I'm wrong. What you just proposed is we go ahead and do this, we buy a new mower to cut their lawn with, and we don't charge them a dime for our labor to do it. What are they gonna pay us for? If they're not paying for the machinery and they're not paying for time?
They are paying for the machinery.
$18,000. That isn't gonna cover it. Labor, material.
Insurance.
What's a decent commercial mower run, Ryan? Something to cut ball fields and stuff like that.
After going through our different purchasing avenues, I looked at state purchasing and then another purchasing company that we qualify for. We're 20 to 25,000 most likely. I did
Well, I
not get any
mean,
hard
last year you
numbers.
were talking 45 to 55,000 just to get a snowplow for the sidewalks in town.
That was a totally different machine with some different attachments. This would just, what is in this proposal here, right now, as it stands, is just a machine to cut grass, nothing more. So that's what the proposal is right now. The,
So how
the
much
number,
would- how much
the
would
number
that
was
machine-
derived by our current equipment rental rates that we put back into our equipment funds. Every week when we do payroll, I keep track of equipment usage, and it goes to Jessica Cooch. The equipment rental rates are set by State of Michigan, is it Department of Treasury? Yeah, Department of Treasury. So we have no say in those rates. So I was asked to put forth equipment rental rates. I supplied numbers to Sam. We talked about it, and this was the number that was landed on. So the number for a machine that we talked about last year was a total different monster. This is for a grass cutting machine.
Okay, and you said that would be how much
Which one?
for cutting grass?
Between 20 and 25,000. Like I said, I did not get any hard numbers yet because
So
we
we're
didn't know
looking
the
at
version.
losing money for the first year.
I was told those units would be about 16,000.
Depending on what side you went. So, like I said, I didn't do any hard numbers.
The personnel hours, taxpayers.
So this is a council meeting. I've heard a lot from the public, but not from the council.
Okay, so I'm gonna put my 2 cents out there. I feel like this is a community, and what better way than to work together as 2 municipalities to help each other out? They're not getting this service for free, they're pretty much paying for it. So I have no problem with that, and that's just my 2 cents.
I'm looking at the fact that we are already paying the personnel. If Ryan feels that he can give up the personnel to get the job done. It's my tax dollars going to the school that is getting a reduction in what they're paying. We are helping them. It's my tax dollars paying you and your people and the machine. We're gonna need a machine anyway, if we got 5 years on the other one. The other one is not on borrowed time, but it's on the older side. I don't know how many hours are on it. So if this basically pays for a new machine, I'm not against it. My concern is, I guess if I've got one, is the short time that we've got to mull it over. I wish it would have been brought up a week, 2 weeks ago. I understand.
I wholeheartedly agree. This is as much as a short notice to the school as it is us.
I agree. So, I'm not against it. I think it's taxpayers' dollars, working with taxpayers' dollars to do something right for the community.
And to that point, Mike, I talked to Andy about the short timing of this, and he felt that if the council needs more time to make a decision, that they can find a service to do a per diem cut for a period of a few weeks if need be. So it's not like the school would be going without, but time is of the essence, grass is growing already.
And we're not gonna go over there and rebuild the school for them, and we're not gonna go over there and redo their parking lots. If we're gonna go over there and do some maintenance issues, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, and this does not mean that the taxpayers are gonna go without the DPW. As I specifically laid out in here, it's, you know, all of this is pending DPW approval. You know, if we're busy with a water main break, sorry, our priorities are clear. You know, we'll have to get to it later, or we won't get to it.
Well, if we sign a contract with them, we have to.
We could put in the contract that this contract is contingent on priority given to the village.
Yep.
Well, let's ask Ryan, does he have the manpower just to send away 2 men, you know, 1 day a week?
Sam and I, in the school, we did meet, we had a discussion about this. For the most part, it would only be 1 man. The 2 men would come in mainly in the spring when grass is rapidly growing. It may not be full-time 2 men supplied. Majority of the time, it would be my lowest hourly rate employee that would be there. At no time would village services, like Sam just stated, at no time would village services go without because it was more important to cut grass. At no time will that happen. This is something, this lawn care service is something I feel that we could do, and that is why I do believe we only did it for a 1-year basis, kind of like as a trial almost, like we talked about.
It's pretty much 1 season, and it
Yep.
has a 30-day termination by either
Yes,
party.
yep. So, it is something that I do believe that we can accomplish. I had very mixed feelings on it, but at the end of the day, we can do this with no noticeable loss in services to the village. At no time will this village go without because it is more important to cut grass or perform any other service, either with the school or anybody else. This village is #1 priority. Services to this village is #1 priority. So, we agreed, and this is where we're at on it. So, nothing will be cut to the village in place of the school.
So, Ryan,
Yes.
Unless you have to pull poles or posts, which is what I heard,
if it's,
mutual agreement.
if it's grass cutting and grass cutting only,
That's not what Sam said.
We do have a list.
well, say that they're going weekly to grass cut.
Yep.
How long would you say, hour, 2 hours?
For grass cutting, it's gonna be roughly 10 to 13 hours
So you're looking at 2 days.
to fully cut everything that is,
So that's how long we're looking at a week,
yep,
if they're just cutting grass.
yep.
And if
We
they
are-
say they needed to, and would that be like the trimming and the edging included? Or
We will include them in our, the school is total on board with this. We will include them with our weed killing program.
Okay,
So we want to eliminate as much of the string trimming, the weed whacking, whatever you want to call it, as possible, with applying weed killer around, so we can just mow up to it.
And the village is gonna pay for the weed killer.
We already do. We already spend a significant amount of money with weed killer because it is a compliance issue around the sewer lagoons. And I do not want to see an employee out weed whacking curb heads along Grand River ever again. That is a huge risk, not only to the employee's safety, but also personal property, because if we fling a rock against a car, we could have some problems. So we already weed kill. I am the one that applies the weed killer, nobody else does. I would probably have an hour in weed killing. Trying to think of what else there was. Roughly 10 to 13 hours a week is what we figured. And this was based on what the previous lawn care service provided to the school. That is where those hours came from, right?
And that's an average.
Yeah.
We can't predict how fast the grass will
No.
grow, if it's wet, dry, not all areas will need to be mowed at the same time. It's just an average.
thank you.
And that's the one thing I left open in this, because I'm not sure how, maybe you've already discussed this, how you're gonna monitor it. Is the village, in this proposal saying we're gonna mow at least once a week, and at the discretion of the supervisor, or you?
It's
or-
gonna be what we discussed was, because that's the hard part when it comes to Mother Nature, we can't predict it. So it was determined that we were going to do a seasonal rate, that's where that number came from.
Mhm.
Grass cutting is gonna be at my discretion.
Okay.
Obviously, the school will also communicate, hey, this area over here seems to be growing a little bit faster. We have fall tournaments this weekend, can we, we have it in there to where they could use the mower for a touch-up. It'll be weather related as well, so it'll be a very fluid thing.
So, I guess for contractual reasons, the piece that I need to put in here is that the service provider is gonna be at your discretion?
Yep.
Okay.
And you're gonna remove this fence repair, removal, asphalt, coal patching, earthworks, and various maintenance and repair.
Give me just a quick second.
Could we do it as?
The asphalt coal patching, that would never be a special trip. That's when our streets are being
I
patched.
thought this was just about,
I'm just saying I just wanted to explain that's what that part is. I'm not gonna touch on any of their other parts. But that's what that is if we were already out patching, they're just kind of, it's considered groundskeeping.
Roughly 2/3 to about a quarter of the $18,000 is mowing and weed related. The remainder is expected cost of if the school called us up and said, hey, when you're out cold patching next time, can you come by and fill a couple of holes for us? It's to cover those unexpected, unpredictable items that the school may need assistance with to help save more money. Because for us, if we're already out cold patching, it costs very little to throw a couple cubic feet on the ground versus the school having to pay to mobilize a company to come out and do it.
Until we gotta spend more money on extra cold patch for our roads.
That's why this number is the way that it is, to cover the costs.
I thought this was just about cutting their grass.
Nope, that's not what I said.
Is the $18,000 a hard number, or is it gonna be billed by the hour?
It would be a fixed seasonal number.
So no matter what, whether we only mowed 6 times instead of 10 times, you're getting that number.
And this number is flexible. If the council thinks it should be lower or higher, we can amend this. That's why we're having the discussion.
So I'm just asking how you proposed it, or how it was proposed to them, is it's a hard number.
It's a hard number, one time. If we get to, say, August, November, and say, look, this is not working for us, we don't have to renew this next year.
Right,
And
I
we
get
give
that.
the school notice. If it's mutually beneficial to everybody, and we find out, hey, this is not, it's not costing us near as much as we thought, we can look at a different price next year, or the opposite way. So, do you feel the 18,000 is appropriate?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I was just asking if it was a hard number, if it was a time and material not to exceed number.
No, no, it's a fixed number. As much as I would love to break it down to the penny, it'll cost us more in time to try to manage that on a week-to-week basis.
Yep.
What was the school paying for it last year?
I don't know what they were paying. I believe it was competitive, similar to this. The current lowest bid they have is about 5,000 higher than this right now.
So you don't know what they were paying last year?
I believe, I'm just doing the math real quick.
Well, you need to look at their contract from last year with who they were with.
I don't know the specifics of that contract. Last year, I believe they were at 19.5 last year, but I also think that they were paying per mow, not necessarily a flat rate. I would have to
It'd
get
be
those
nice to
details.
know those things before we say, yeah, we'll do this. And all they were getting out of last year was just lawn mowing, wasn't it?
And weed control.
Okay, and now we're throwing all this other stuff in on top of it for less money.
We are able to do this more cost effectively than other people.
Yeah, I agree with that. We shouldn't be doing work for the school district. We're not in the business to do a lawn mowing service. We're in the business of running the village.
Does anybody want to make a motion on this, or do we want to table this and take more time to think until the 21st? We don't have to make a decision on this tonight.
I'd like 2 weeks to think about it a little bit more personally.
Okay, that's fine.
I second that.
Okay. So, no motion, no recommendation, nothing to vote on. So, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Unless there's anything else that we need to discuss, there a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:52 PM.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.